Gibsonville, North Carolina, in America. So I just wanted to make this post, um, or make this video because I was thinking about some things. So I it's very. I know Donald Trump, our president, has some tariffs and stuff going on, and like a lot of people are like freaking out about it. But to be honest, tariffs don't do ain't what's making me freak out. Tariffs ain't doing nothing to me. That's it's financial. So the real issue is what's going on in America, specifically down here in Gibsonville. So it's amazing. It's amazing the how we portray ourselves to be like this what is it, God fearing, loving country, and yet you have people murdering kids and stuff like that. I'm trying to walk around because I don't want people. A lot of these people that live over here, in my opinion, are racist. But we talk all this stuff about being God fearing and following the law, but we don't even do it. I mean, I follow the law, but a lot of these people that talk about it don't follow the law. Even police officers, lawyers, and all this stuff. And so, like, it's not necessarily a rant, but I guess it is kind of a rant. But let me tell you what I'm having to deal with as an American living in Gibsonville. So I lost $500,000 through actions that were not my own, being attacked by an officer. And the reason why I was attacked is because I'm biracial. I'm biracial, married to a white woman, living in an all right society. And I see, so my wife, we've been dealing with this for 2.5 years. I literally, an officer on camera assaulted me. He came up to my house and he assaulted me because I didn't want to speak to him. And then, I got criminally charged. And then when I went to hire an attorney, you think, and I'll tell you, in America, you think hiring an attorney when you're innocent that the justice system is going to come through? Nope, that's not how it works. Unless you're rich or something, that's not how it works. I hired an attorney, Don Dickerson of out of Hillsborough, and I specifically chose one not in my county, because I didn't want a conflict of interest. And turns out there was a conflict of interest because he's got family down here. At least that's what I've been told. But you get in trouble in America, even if you're innocent. Even if you're innocent, you still can go to prison for something you did not do. And I'll explain to you why. They're all friends with each other. That's the problem. So my lawyer is friends. He went to college with a lot of the judges around here in Alamance County. And so and again, when you hire these attorneys, you don't know this. You don't know their friendship. You assume they're going to do you right. But in America, these attorneys will screw you over just to protect their friends. And I've spoken with other people that have similar issues, specifically with my attorney. Hey, Miss Ramirez. And my attorney knew that I was innocent. He admitted it. So basically, this guy, he took my case, and it was obvious civil rights violation, because I know the law. I took college. I started to become a lawyer in college, actually, but I didn't end up taking the bar or anything, because I didn't want to do that. I just switched. But my lawyer, he knew that I was innocent, but he refused to advocate for me, and so I lost my job behind all of this stuff. And at this point, when it first started, like, it was all right, but I knew, like, I couldn't handle it. So I had money saved up, I had money invested. I had to pull out when I lost my job the $2,000 that I had sitting in my account. from one of the, because I had multiple accounts. I had another 10 grand in another portfolio that I couldn't touch because you got to pay early penalties and stuff like that. 2,000 I pulled out of my Robinhood account to pay for these bills, pay for him, and I'm thinking it's an easy case. It's okay. I'm thinking it's an easy case to win. It's obvious that he violated my rights. Like, we're not living in a third world country. We live in the richest country in the world. Like, you might expect something like this, in like a third world country or something like that, because it's whatever. But thank you. But in America, they get away with this crap, and they get away with it all the time. My lawyer knew that I was innocent, and let me tell you, he refused to get the paperwork that I had requested. That, because this is funny enough. The police lied about being called to my house. There were no calls from that night. There were no calls. There was nothing. They lied about being dispatched to my house. And then the guy actually doing this is the first trial. My lawyer refused to say any of the stuff that we talked about privately. And I was meeting this guy. No, I'm not drinking, but I was meeting this guy, and this motherfucker was falling asleep on me when I was meeting him, and all this other stuff. And then in court, like, he acknowledged, like, yeah, you know what you're talking about. I was like, hell, I know what I'm talking about. And then in court, the judge called me an asshole. I reached out previously to the town manager. So in America, I don't know, like, I get views from all over the country, but you have local government, like, and then you have the upper government. So local government's like, you have, like, in a city or a town, you have like a town manager, and he basically oversees, like, police stuff and how it works. And so and the way it goes is, if you have an issue with the police, you go to the town manager, and then they have like a body that kind of they get together and talk about stuff, aldermen. And then above them there's the mayor, and then then there's the Alamance County DA, which is called the prosecutor, or basically it's the county's attorney. And then they have assistants that do this stuff, and a lot of these people are fucking idiots. Excuse my language. A lot of these attorneys are idiots. Like, they're not winning because they're good at law. They're winning because they're corrupt. And so I reached out to the town manager, and this guy, he wouldn't answer my phone calls or return my emails, so I didn't respond to him. And then, so part of his duty as a town manager is to address these complaints. The Gibsonville police blocked me on Facebook, and then they started they blocked me on Facebook while promoting the officer that did all this stuff. They actually took him off the streets, and everyone was aware of what went on. And this is not talked about a lot, but America is crooked as shit. And so I lost my first case, even though legally, and I'll say this again, as I've said in my other videos, police do not have the right to detain you simply because you're arguing. Even though, my wife wasn't even home. My lawyer acknowledged that they weren't even called, but I still lost. So I lost from that. I had to pay my lawyer $1,500, but then I was still paying to live, because I was taking my kids to school. I had a car payment. So my car payment was $600. And then I had to pay and then I had my insurance was $200. So I was paying $800 a month just for a car payment and insurance. And then I was also paying for living expenses. I have 2 kids, and at this time my youngest daughter was maybe around 1.5, 2, and the other daughter, who had the gun pointing at her, she was around 5. She was getting ready to go to school. So we lost all. So I probably, in that year, in addition to losing, because I was making about $80,000 after everything. It was generally around 80 to 100. So I worked until August. So you take, there's 12 months in a year. So I had made about half of it. So it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I probably had lost about $40,000 because I'd made about like 60. I lost that much money, and then I had to pay all these, had to pay the attorney and all this stuff. To do on the appeal, I hired another attorney that was suggested to me by one of my friends. The guy's name was John Cox. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but he's Facebook friends with my with the police department, with the chief of the police from the department. He was Facebook friends with him, and he didn't tell me this stuff. And I had telling him all this stuff. He wouldn't answer me. He wouldn't answer my questions directly or my concerns. He would kind of sidestep them or not say anything at all. And lawyers do this to avoid. They do this to avoid getting it to avoid saying something that could be used against them in a civil trial. And so this guy, he knew all this stuff, and he had his attorney. I think there was a guy that had just graduated from the class. I forget what they're called, but he was basically a new attorney. His name was Theo Goodrich. He knew what he was talking about. He in my opinion, didn't seem to be corrupted yet. But he came to my house and he saw everything, and then you know, that was good. So we had our trial. Now during the beginning of the trial, the police had convinced their friend who lives up the street to lie for them, because the video shows the officer attacking me, but these people, Jeffrey Reese, his son Dylan Reese, and some other dude that I didn't know. I had basically spoken to Jeff when I moved in, but he already came off as bad news from talking with him. This guy, he basically was on camera being led by the assistant chief. And I'm not making any of this shit up. I'm actually in the process of getting the court transcripts. So she's in like a room, an interrogation room, and she's saying, "Now, Jeff, we need you to help our officer." Like that's leading. And so he starts saying all this crazy shit, like I beat my wife and stuff like that, and I'm swinging knives and just crazy shit. And first of all, at this point, I was working like 12 hours a day, sometimes like 15 hours a day. Like I worked a lot because I was working towards a goal. And so, thank you for the subscribes to all the people, and thank y'all for tuning in. But I was working about 12 hours a day. But when you factor in the drive, I was gone for like 15 hours a day, working, making money, and then going home. So I worked like six days a week. And I was investing in the stock market, and I was just putting cash away, because we had only planned on living in this area for about like 2 years, and then use it as a rental. But I'm getting the hell out of here and selling this house. But basically, the police, they brought in a friend. He lied and said all this other shit, and this ended up. Social service came to my house, which social service said, "No, this is terrible." They closed the case like literally the same day. And because I don't get in trouble. I mean, when I was younger, I had small stuff like being around the wrong people, but I never had I never had no felonies, no nothing like that. Like I was clean, because I cared about like the nicer things in life, and I didn't want to be in jail, none of that stuff. So I didn't put myself in positions to be in those predicaments. So it was very infuriating. He comes to court, he lies, and then the guy, he says they all say the same rehearsed ass story that I attacked the officer. Now this is impossible, because the officer even, like, with all the evidence in the video and the witnesses, it was some bullshit. My lawyer, John Cox, refused to cross-examine these witnesses. They refused to cross-examine them. And so I ended up taking a plea deal. I took a plea deal for an obstruction. And the only reason I took a plea deal, and this happens all the time, so just because you see somebody was found guilty or they plead, they're pleading because the odds are stacked against them. Like we give officers all these rights. I don't know why, and they haven't proven themselves. We give them all this power and stuff. It is what it is. But I took a plea deal, and then as I was like, figured, I'll get the criminal. Was I took a plea deal. I didn't really get no time. No, I didn't. Basically, I lost a lot of money. I didn't go to jail or nothing like that. But because they were so ready, they were so ready for me to plead. Because the reason why they conspired to lie was because they didn't want to get sued. Because I told them I'm gonna sue the shit out of y'all when this is over, because I know the law very well, and I didn't expect all the, because I've never really been in trouble. And so I didn't expect the corruption that I had gotten, that I had saw, because it's America. I was like, I don't get in trouble, and I'm not thinking like if I don't break the laws, then nobody's gonna bother me. But we live in an area, specifically older white dudes, right? They expect you to just do what the police say, no matter what. But again, police have to be investigating a crime. Just because they're called out to your house, doesn't mean you do what they say. But where I live at, they basically expect you to do whatever they say, even if they're wrong. And I'm like, I'm not no sheep. I follow the law and I do it well. So like, all this shit happened to my kids. My kid having a gun pointed at her, all because I wanted to exercise my right and not speak to somebody when I legally did not have to. And so my lawyer was in on it both times, and I reached out to all these people. So after the hearing, and I know I'm like jumbling, but I'm just super irritated. So I had lost. At this point, I think I had to sell out. I had if anybody knows the stock market, Palantir last year in 2024 was at $7 a share, and then it went to 15. If you look at it right now, it's sitting at about $96, $97. It went all the way up to 110. So just in that stock, I had 20,000, a lot of shares. I would have had a couple $100,000 just from that. And that my goal was to make. You can do this thing called covered calls, which basically you give somebody the ability, the right to buy your stock at a certain price on a certain date, but not the obligation. And that's how a lot of people make money. So that's what I started doing. I had other shares of stock that went up like 200%, but I had to cash out while they were low. And so that's kind of going on right now. I still have a little bit of money left, but basically I lost a lot of money between losing my job and losing. I probably lost about $250,000 in like money from the stock market, potential gains that I would have had because I studied it very well. I lost all that stuff, so I had to sell. I had to get rid of my car because of this. I had to sell a bunch of stuff. I had to sell more stocks, and I hate cashing out. I had a vintage Camaro that I was rebuilding. I had to pull out of that, and so everything that I had worked on was just destroyed because people would rather, instead of punishing one bad actor, they'd rather punish me and my family. And we reached out. I actually sued one of the people that lied on me, and now his family is in the government, so they dismissed the case, and now I owe him money, even though he lied on me, which is kind of which I'm mad about. And so all over this time, I'd silently been reaching out to senators. So senator is kind of like the highest that you can go to in your state. So there's represent. So and then there's like lawyers. There's police, and then there's aldermen. There's town managers. There's mayors. The DA is kind of like on par with the mayor. Sometimes the DA can have more power than the mayor. And then there's the sheriff. The sheriff and the DA kind of are on par. And then above the DA, there is the there's a senator, there's a state representative, and then there's a senator. So each in North Carolina, there in every state there's a senator, but then there's a senator for each district, and then there's like a head senator. To me, it's a little confusing. I took a little bit of government and college, but not much. So I reached out to the state reps. The state representative wouldn't do anything. So the state rep also, this is where a lot of the corruption lies in America, specifically in small. So the state rep if they're usually a state rep lives in the area, so the state rep wouldn't take any action, and this is because he's friends, again, Facebook friends with the police chief. So if you guys are ever dealing with somebody, a lot of people aren't that smart. Like, if they're Facebook friends with each other, there's a connection. So, and that's a conflict of interest. Hey, Kimberly. So the state rep is friends